I want to talk about my BOE hearing a few weeks ago. This is a video that I've wanted to make for a variety of reasons. First of all, it's not one of my shining moments. It's not something that I would recommend that people do. I do feel like that I need to make this video so that people can learn from it. Even though I've written a book about Georgia tax appeals, I've been through BOE hearings, I still don't ever feel like I'm really an expert. I feel like I'm knowledgeable, but I'm always learning. The proof of the pudding is how the BOE hearing went a few weeks ago, which happened on a Friday at 1 p.m. Anyway, the Friday at 1 p.m. is a horrible time to have a BOE hearing because for us, there was a block of 14 properties, which I was the agent. 3 of them were mine, and the others were my clients, who also happens to be a landlord friend. We fully expected to be at the BOE hearing early on, but both of us were very unsettled going into this particular BOE hearing. The reason being is that both of us had the impression that the tax assessor's office would reach out to us after our many emails and that we would have a chance to discuss it before going to the BOE hearing. Unfortunately, it never happened. And the reason why I think the BOE hearing did not go well was because I was extraordinarily angry. I was put out. I felt insulted. I just did not like the unprofessional behavior. So that colored the entire BOE hearing. What happened was that I was fired up and my client was ill prepared. He did not have as much evidence with him as he would have had he known we were going to definitely be at the BOE hearing. Both of us had hoped that there was a possibility we might be able to avoid it by settling it, which is what I do recommend in my book. So before I get into it, I do want to make a disclaimer. This is a more off-the-cuff video. Typically, I give great thought to what I'm going to present on a video, and I script it out, and I present it. This time around, I have a few notes, but I am going off the cuff. The goal being is that I want to be able to turn out videos more frequently and have more conversations and not have everything be so scripted. So let me know in the comments if you're okay with the off-the-cuff type of video. I will do my best to keep it tight and not ramble off too far. A lot of people ask me about how they should prepare for a BOE hearing, and quite honestly, even though I've been to a number of them, I don't do it every day. I do it once in a great while. I have watched other people's BOE hearings, as well as gone through my own BOE hearings. But really, I do my best to actively avoid BOE hearings. If I can settle the appeal by having a discussion with the tax assessor's office, I will. And so I want to be transparent with you that every time I go into a BOE hearing, which is not that frequently, I'm like you. I get nervous, I get a little insecure, although I am prepared from a documentation point of view. Now, let me tell you what I did do right. First of all, I have my photos ready, right? I've already sent it into the tax assessor's office, but I also have a copy to present to the BOE panel. So I did do that right. I do also have a one-page write-up for the BOE panel so they can look over. And as far as first impressions go, I think they're appreciative of it. And in my case, because the bulk of properties that we appeal are rental properties, we already know they're going to ask for what we charge for rents. So a lot of that I was able to do. Unfortunately, my friend was not quite as prepared, but he made up for it in the verbal testimony. In any case, during my presentation, because I was so angry and put out of frustration, I did make some sarcastic remarks and unhappy remarks directed at the tax assessor's representative. That person was the person that we had sent multiple emails to, and to his credit, he was apologetic. He said that he misunderstood, that he thought his coworker was working on it, and that was his story. But also, I wanted to say it out loud so that everyone knew that I, in fact, was very prepared. I had submitted so much documentation with my appeal form. I expressed my dislike and dismay to the tax assessor's representative that why didn't they bother to look at it. He explained that it was an appraiser who had done a poor job and was no longer with the agency. So it was a perfectly logical explanation, but nevertheless, I'm at the point of my career in doing these tax appeals, I don't want to hear it. Because the reason I don't want to hear it anymore is when it comes to their mistake, they always have something to say. But you're going to find that when you make a mistake, they very much will pin it on you. No matter how much you prepare, they always seem to have some response, and I don't buy into it anymore as I used to. In the interest of being professional and not getting to big drama, I generally say we will have to agree to disagree and let it go at that. Now, in that BOE hearing, one of the mistakes I made because I was so angry and so flustered is that although I did a good job with my photos and my write-up sheet for the BOE panel, I hurried through my presentation. Looking back, I should have slowed down. I should have been much more methodical in how I presented it page to page, but I jumped around, again, being emotionally colored. I represent myself and my properties, and so I am a lot more vested. And so when I represent myself, I know the properties very well, and I really get into it. One of the reasons why I don't represent other people as much is that most people are not as invested as I am when I do these appeals. And so because I put so much into my own appeals, it's so difficult for me to take a similar approach with other property owners in their properties. Simply because I'm not there, I can't touch it. It's very hard for me to get the gist of it based on just a few photos. In any case, what you don't want to do is be so fired up like I was, and that you screw up your presentation, which I didn't do very well. I jumped around, I didn't do it in an orderly fashion. So don't do what I did. And another thing that came out of that BOE hearing is that I feel like I made a mistake putting a checkbox in both value and uniformity when I filed the initial appeal. I do tell people to check off the uniformity and value box. Starting now, I no longer agree with that. I've gone back to those older videos and tried to comment and make a remark that I no longer believe that. The reasons why, I won't get into it in this video, but suffice to say, after this BOE hearing, going forward, when you're doing appeals, as a general rule, simply check the value box. So that was a very important outcome of this BOE hearing that I wanted to share with all of you. Now, I just got done saying don't do what I do and get all fired up and so forth. What I want to caution you is you don't want to go to the other side and be too cool of a cat, be so dispassionate that the BOE panel thinks that you just don't give a shit about your appeal. You definitely want to come across as you care about the appeal and that you are very committed to the process and that you are very strong in your position. But you don't want to do what I did a few weeks ago and just really boil over. Now, to be clear, I wasn't shouting or screaming or cussing or anything like that. But I can tell you, I was not at my best performance that day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.